Hello and welcome to the New Age Geek channel. If you're new here, build an inclusive space, people of all walks of life through the power of friendship, magic, and tabletop role-playing games. Tonight we have Investigation Check, our regular, irregular interview show where we dive into the lives of the geeky creators you want to know about. For tonight's episode, we have AP performer, DM, host of the After Table podcast, Draglesque performer, and Crit Award nominated Best Player, the one, the only, Shelly Von Miller. How you doing tonight, Shelly?
I'm living life. I'm here. it's been a weird Pride month, to say the least.
First and foremost, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you, all the things you're doing.
Hi everyone, my name is Shelly Von Miller. I'm a like they said before, I'm a drag and burlesque performer, a variety content creator, and an overall internet dumbass. And you can find me everywhere on the internet at Shelly Von Miller because branding is important, and especially if you've been in the creator game like I have for a while, you want to make sure you get your name in there before anybody else takes it.
Okay. Let's see. I think that's everything. You ready to dive into tonight's episode?
Let's do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to paint me a word picture. Take me on a mind journey. Bring me back to fresh Shelly out of the womb. What is your first experience in like geekdom? Is it a show? Is it a movie? Is it a book? What kind is like that first touchstone of geekness for you?
Oh gosh. I would say it's probably whenever I was a kid. I grew up. I mean, I'm an elder millennial, so I grew up on like Power Rangers and like first gen Pokemon and Sailor Moon. So those were my first forays into like geekdom, were like Japanese imports.
Okay.
In a way. So yeah. I watched like first 2 seasons of Power Rangers, and I guess it would be LARPing in a way, or cosplay in a way, like, you know, whenever you're playing in the yard and everybody's like, let's play Power Rangers, or like let's play mermaids if you're in a pool. I was always the Red Ranger. For some reason, people always wanted to put me as the Red Ranger and the leader, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I just went to play Power Rangers. And then I should have known I had like an obsession with like collecting things, because I would find all the good Sailor Moon art and print it off.
Okay.
Whenever I would go with my mom because she went back to school like later in life. And I would just use the school's computer lab and print things off, because they never charge for printing. Nice. I'm the reason why they charge for printing now, probably.
We fucked that up.
But yeah, just like Sailor Moon stuff, and I had like a binder, and I had like Pokemon cards. I didn't know how to play Pokemon, mind you. I just collected the cards. Exactly.
Well, so I kind of had this conversation with Neo last night, because he said that Power Rangers was one of his touchstones. What do you feel like? What do you feel like it was about Power Rangers that kind of drew you in so much? Is it the way the stories were told? Or is it just the action, or what?
I think it was because it came on after school, and it wasn't on it was on basic cable, and that's all we could afford back then. So it was one of those things, is like the only thing I could watch that was like kids oriented after school. Because like most elder millennials, I was a latchkey kid. My mom was constantly working, and so it was just a way to like kind of get my mind off of like being alone in the house, having to take care of myself and my sister, being in school. And yeah, that, and like reading. I was always reading. I was always just trying to find a way, like a way to escape. So,
do you remember what some of those first books were that you were reading, or?
I remember the books that I was reading in high school, and they were not appropriate. I was reading the Vampire Chronicles as like a freshman in high school. They are so not appropriate for a high school child. please, adults, if you have children, don't let them read those books. I should have, there are signs of like I should have known I was queer.
Uh-huh.
Like I should have known I was gay. It was the Vampire Chronicles, I just other signs and symbols, and it was just like, yeah. Oh, I watched Xena a lot.
Yeah.
Xena, the show. Buffy was a big one growing up. Buffy and big WB because again, basic cable. Basic cable.
Okay. So at what point do we start to kind of go from enjoying some of the like kid programming that are fantastical in elements to enjoying the fantasy tropes specifically? Is it when you start reading Vampire Chronicles, or is it something else?
I would say it's like Xena is one of those like fantasy type shows that I was definitely engrossed in, and that got me interested. I was more as a kid and like a younger adult. Uh, I was more into history as opposed to like fantasy.
Okay.
So I'm a late in life fantasy girl, as it were. Um, I moved towards history, so I wanted to be like an archaeologist. So it was like The Mummy was a great movie for me, and like all these like reality based kind of movies and TV shows that had like a bit of whimsy and it had this fantastical sense, but there was still an approach to it to where like there were themes and tropes that I was able to kind of connect with as opposed to like a fantasy show. Like I like Merlin was a big one. I think the only real like fantasy like show movie thing that I was able to get into was um Mists of Avalon. They had the mini series in the early 2000s, like
Hmm.
late 90s, early 2000s. I was able to get into that and I was like, "Oh yeah, I like this. This is really cool. I like the." But it was a different approach to the Arthurian legend as opposed to like there was still magic and there was still, that whimsy about it. It was just like, "Hey, I'm more I'm more based grounded in reality than I am in fantasy."
Which specifically which time period in reality history was drawing to you?
I was like most queer women from the millennial age. I was a big Greek and Roman mythology person.
Okay.
Um, at one point in my life, I wanted to go into Roman archaeology and kind of not look at like Rome, but like the outer colonies of Rome, uh, specifically like uh, Gaul, Spain, kind of just like how those influenced um, later versions of the Roman Empire.
Do,
Uh,
do you think Xena was the reason you had such a connection to like
oh yeah,
Greek?
Xena was definitely the reason.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like it was just like Xena, and then like The Mummy, and all those shows that had like some sort of mythology in there. I mean Hercules as well, but I was more a Xena fan
Yeah.
than a Hercules fan. I'm kind of glad because, well, I mean, look at him now. Um, uh, but yeah, it was definitely it spurred on that, and like there's that always that section in like social studies or something like that that they go through like Egyptian history, and so you're
Right.
like, ooh, you know, you learn about archaeology, and you're like, oh yes, I like that.
So at what point do we kind of pick up a tabletop game book?
Not until 2020. That's the funny part.
Wow.
I was just like, yeah, I was like, I don't want to be a nerd. Like I like books, I like history. I'm like, I'm nerdy that way. And
Mhm.
it's not until like I really unpack uh why I'm kind of like in that headspace. By the way, Cliff Notes, TLDR. It's misogyny. It's internalized misogyny. Of like I don't want to be seen as like the nerdy girl. I want to be like the pretty whatever girl,
Mhm.
or like I want to be like a different type of nerd. I'm like smart but like capable and whatever. Yeah, internalized misogyny. And so I finally get into playing like video games later on, and also like just getting into tabletop because of COVID, because
Okay.
just learning that way.
So what does that first experience kind of look like for you? What was that? How did that even happen?
uh I started streaming in 2020, so I had been making content for a while. I've been making content on and off on different platforms since 2008. So yeah, like I've run the, like people are like, oh, how are we going to figure out this algorithm? Honey, nobody can figure out the algorithm, and if you do, the algorithm's going to change
Yeah.
within like a month, because that's how social media rolls. You just have to roll with the punches and just figure out what works for you and your community and your like uh your audience. That's what it's always based on. It's like what works for your audience. Don't work for the algorithm, work for like what your community
Right.
and
For who you want to
your
bring in.
exactly. People will find you eventually. Whether it's word of mouth or you just pushing the just pushing the button and putting out content. But yeah, I was playing games online and people were like, "Oh, part of my chat was just like, "Oh, you like story-based stuff. Have you thought about doing D&D?" And I was like, "No, I hadn't thought about D&D." And the first character I created was on stream with no intention of like ever playing her. But I was like, "Oh, I wonder like how this works, yada yada yada." And then I'm still part of their community, but I was part of another streamer's community, and they're like, "Hey," somebody was like, "Oh yeah, I play D&D." And I was like, "Oh, I would love to learn how to play D&D." And it's one of my mods and one of my good friends still. Um, and yeah, they uh, that first D&D session was like 2 straight weeks of playing D&D. Like just we had like 2 days off, but we played like D&D for for varied amount of time. But like at one point I mean, it was 2020, so like at one point we played D&D for like 10 hours. It was great. Uh yeah, so I went from like level 1 to level 5 in that one, and then we took a couple months off, and he got a I was about to say Curse of Strahd, and that's not right. It was Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and we played Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and I was able to get that character from level 5 to level 20. So I played
Oh
her
wow.
from level 1 to level 20.
Oh, but this was over
It was great.
how many days do you think?
Uh, the first one was that first that level 1 to 5
Yeah.
was 2 weeks,
Okay.
and then the Dungeon of the Mad Mage one was like a year and a half,
Okay.
over a year and a half. Yeah.
So you created this first character live on stream and you didn't expect to play it. What'd you create? Well, who was it?
Her name is Lashana. She's a half elf cleric. She's a cleric of Tyr. I love her. She has a place in my heart because she's like my first my first character, and I I want I've put it down so many times, but I have a novel that I'm working on that has her in it. It's just like all her adventures after
Yeah.
Dungeon the Mad Mage, and so it's just like eventually I will finish this novel, and then I will, maybe publish it somewhere, maybe shop it somewhere, maybe it'll just go on AO3.
Uh-huh.
Who knows? But yeah, she and like that whole group of people that I played with got me into loving TTRPGs, and then like a year after I started playing, I started GMing, and I GM'd for those same people.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, then I started trying to figure out how to play other games. Like I found out about other games. Like the next game after I think was like Vampire the Masquerade,
Nice.
and I played like an offline um, game that was like over the course of like 2 months, and it was really great. I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna play some Vampire, and it was a fun time. I played a Bruja who was a computer hacker.
No, okay. I've never played
So
Vampire the Masquerade. I really want to play Vampire the Masquerade. I just kind of get
it's one of my favorite systems.
well.
Vampire, I think, again, because it's rooted in reality,
Uh-huh.
like there's still that whimsy and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that, but like because it's rooted in reality, I kind of like it more because I can connect with my character more as opposed to like a fantasy character where I'm like, okay, how do I make this as grounded as possible to where I can connect
Uh-huh.
and try to achieve that same whimsy and like things that fantasy always has.
So I don't like when I play D&D, I always make big swings. And I remember playing a Call of Cthulhu game, and I made a big swing and literally died in about 5 minutes from doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm really worried about VTM because I understand it's like a little bit more reality based. So I'm worried I'm going to die in the first 5 minutes again.
Okay, here's the thing. Call of Cthulhu it's built to where
It's trying to kill you.
like there yeah, it's trying to kill you. VTM, it's more like it's an exploration of darkness more than anything.
Okay.
It's another, like, you can take big swings. There are going to be consequences. You won't necessarily die because you are a vampire.
Right.
But yeah, it's one of those things like there are consequences to your action. It's just you won't necessarily die all the time.
Okay. It was really awkward having to sit there for about 2 hours. Just
Oh yeah, yeah. Call of Cthulhu. That's a game that you're like, oh, I take measured steps at this. I'm just gonna.
I'm gonna have to learn this game before I play it next time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hey, I have the books because I was just like, I need to learn this before I even want to like play it or act as like the person in charge at a table for Call of Cthulhu. I'm like, oh.
So let's ask this then. Like, so you start streaming D&D online, start learning these other systems. What is it about what the D&D online streamer community is that kind of dug its nails into you and kept you around for this long?
Yeah, because we had the Dungeon of the Mad Mage game online, like we streamed it, but it was mostly for us, like so we could remember what happened.
Okay.
Because that's a thing. But it was a very like on and off, like sometimes we would stream it, sometimes we wouldn't. And then just so I could see like a performance difference, my first game, not the one shot that I ran for my friends, but like the campaign that happened because of it, that I GM'd for, was all streamed.
Okay.
And It was it came to me on a whim, like as a dream, like, hey, a couple of days before the one shot, I was like, I put in my notes, like, if they do something really stupid, they're gonna get shunted to another world. Like,
Okay.
because it was like a one shot built around like finding a kid that got kidnapped into the Feywild. And I was like, if they piss off the fairies, they're just gonna get pushed somewhere else whenever they go to leave. And I was like, let it be Exandria, because I was watching Critical Role at the time and everything like that. I was like, let it be Exandria.
Uh-huh.
And then as players do, they're like, hey, let me do this random thing that is perceived as a threat to these fairies. And I'm like,
Bad
I
bitch.
guess I guess we're gonna go on an adventure in a different world. And yeah, that happened, and that because that was in 2021, and we started that campaign in 2022. The one shot was in 2021. We started the and we wrapped up last year.
Wow.
So in 2024. So
And this was all
yeah,
streamed.
we weren't consistent. Yeah, and it was all streamed. So like that could be, you can find that on my YouTube.
There you go. Plug it, baby.
Yeah, some of the episodes got ate by Twitch because that happens. All too often it happens. The VODs just go bloop.
Yeah.
So yeah, all 40, I'd say all 40, but like 40 episodes of a campaign are on YouTube now,
Nice.
and it's really great. I love it, and I could see a big difference between whenever I first started and whenever I ended, and yeah, it was a good time. But yeah, that I was just like, yeah, let me have this just for posterity's sake and
Right.
for my players and things like that. And then how I got into going into other avenues of like other games is I saw something on Twitter uh that somebody was looking for veterans, like military veterans, to play in an all veteran table for an Apocalypse Keys game. And I was like, well, I don't know what this is. And come to find out, Apocalypse Keys was like on Kickstarter at the time. And so, like, the only thing available was the quick start guide, and we
Okay.
started that campaign on a quick start guide. So, like, it was like a couple of episode like mini series, and yeah, like that was my first foray in doing like another AP thing
Uh-huh.
that wasn't something I was
Self-produced.
doing,
Right.
self-produced, and it was great. Unfortunately, those episodes were lost to Twitch as well.
Okay.
They're not up on YouTube. But yeah, I was able to kind of from there just start slowly crawling into other AP tables. I on that same channel, I was able to do an AP with like a Dragonbane AP.
Okay.
With a couple of friends, a couple of people that I know, and it was an Oops All Ducks campaign because they have a mallard species. Like,
Okay.
so we played ducks. So it was like Oops All Ducks. We were just having a good time, puns and everything,
Yeah.
just a goofy time in a very serious game. But yeah, and then a couple of us went and played Vampire, and so like I'm part of a Vampire the Masquerade game that has been going on for 2 years, so 2 seasons. And I've been able to do like one shots and mini series across different channels and things like that. It's been a great time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what is it that you're kind of like, where do you see yourself going then in the space? Because you are appearing on a ton of channels. You have this big, huge following now, and you are kind of like getting out there and doing the damn thing. What is kind of like, what do you hope to do your next step? What's your next year or two?
I'm hoping to get on a couple another, a
Words
couple
are hard
other,
sometimes.
yeah, a couple other long, longer running campaigns. I would love to, like, hey, I would love to do like mini series or whatever. Like, I'll get in where I fit in. I'll
Yeah.
guest spot. Like, I just guest spotted on Shadow of Gotham, which is over on the Wounded Warrior Project, which is a mini series that's a Batman TTRPG
Okay.
that's GM'd by Edward Spence and has an amazing cast. But they have the uh, Ed has like these vignettes where like they're separate to the story but interconnected. And
Okay.
I was able to play Poison Ivy over there,
Nice.
which is amazing because I
Yeah.
love Poison Ivy, and so I was just like, heck yes. Um, but yeah, I would love to whatever. Again, get in where I fit in. If it's a new system, I will learn a system. I've learned so many systems for like one shots and mini series and things like that. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I love TTRPGs. I just like absorb them. I'm like, yes, just give me whatever. I've done a lot of charity games,
Okay.
whether I've GM'd and produced them or I've just been part of them
Hmm.
as a player. And I think it's a great way to just get to know other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, wherever. Hey, people,
Do you
book
prefer
me.
do you prefer telling stories or being in a story, like DMing or
Um,
playing?
that's difficult to say because it
Mhm.
all depends on the story that I want to tell.
Okay.
Uh, like right now, as a GM, I'm currently only doing one shots because I'm trying to figure out, because the players that were at my Exandria game where they want another campaign, and I'm like, do I want to do this on stream or do I want to do this off stream? um but I like GMing as
Hmm.
well as playing. I think it's like one of those, it's just dependent on my mood,
Okay.
because I don't just GM on camera, I GM
Right.
off stream. um I haven't done it in a little bit because I haven't had time, but I need to set some time up. But I run games for Wounded Warrior Project for their alumni,
Okay.
so none of those are streamed.
Yeah.
And it's great because I get to like kind of flex some like story building and figure out, how to work with other people who aren't necessarily creators. They're
Right.
just wanting to play a game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's a different way to kind of go through storytelling and story and world building.
So let me ask you this then: when you are telling stories for people not necessarily on stream, what do you feel like are some of the beats or the things you like to hit, whether it be like the way you run a game or some storylines that you may want to explore? Do you find there to be a big difference between the two?
Yeah, because I feel like this is no shade to, the AP space, but
Hmm.
like for the AP space, you're building a story for entertainment
Right.
as well as just like a world building sense for your players. Whenever you're off stream, whenever you're just doing it for non-creator types, um, there's a lot of there's a difference in how a story is built. And
Yeah.
most of the games that I've been doing are just like one shots. That way people get an idea of how they like my story, my world building and my storytelling. Um and it's mostly like I want there to be like a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of combat, and just I want the players to feel comfortable to work with each other in the world that I give them.
Hmm.
Um, because some people, this is their first time interacting with each other. So they're like, hey, you know, let's just get to know each other in this story, in this world. And so hopefully that leads to, them wanting to come back to my table, where I can eventually build, a world that they're fine with and
Okay.
want to play longer in. I'm thinking about putting like a West Marches game together. I've never played in a West Marches game, and so that's going to be like a difficult system and like way to kind of approach things. Uh Mostly because I know, especially in the veteran space,
Hmm.
not everybody is available all the time.
Right.
Um Also, this is no shade to veterans. I'm a veteran myself. Sometimes we're a little flaky and we just don't want to interact with. We don't people well.
No,
Hi.
no, we do
we
not.
don't
We do not
we
people
we don't people well. So like it is really like it is really vibes based.
Yeah.
And there it's like, hey, I'm not vibing right now. I don't want to vibe with people, so I'm not going to show up.
Yeah. Yes.
Um I don't wanna. I'm an adult. I've had an adult life. I don't want to do
I
this right
know
now.
what I want to do, and it's not this.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, okay. So I want to kind of shift topic here a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to talk about first. Actually, you know what? We'll put that to the last. I want to talk about your After the Table podcast. I understand you've just wrapped season 1. You started recording for season 2. Go ahead and
Mhm.
just tell us what this is. Give people an idea of what you're hoping to do with this project.
So After the Table is similar to this. It's an interview podcast, not live streamed. It's all pre-recorded, and it's basically I want to bring people in the AP space to my table, and we talk about their projects, what got them into TTRPGs in the AP space, and just nerd out about things. Just nerd out about characters and whatever comes up.
Mm-hmm.
It all came together because of the veteran table I was part of.
Gotcha.
After I think it was after the Kickstarter, uh, e- Evil Hat put a kind of like a hey, we raised enough money, we hit this marker, we can do like a grant type thing for people who are wanting to work in the Apocalypse Keys system, for whatever type of thing that you're wanting to do. And I approached them, I applied, and I approached them and I said, hey, we did an AP while the Kickstarter was going, like no connection
Yeah.
whatsoever with Evil Hat. And I was like, I would love to interview people. I would love to interview the people at my table and talk about the game that we had and like how we like the system. And so that was it ended up being the first episode of the podcast. And I just loved connecting and talking about our game and everything like that.
Uh-huh.
And then the second episode was like somebody reached out to me, but was like put it out to the internet, was like, hey, our game is coming out soon. If anybody would like would like to watch the preview of it and like interview us, we are up for that. And so that was the Melancholy We Weave with Other Cider Studios, which was an independent video that was going to be on my YouTube. And then that became the second episode. And from there, I was just like, what if I made this a thing? What if I made this? Because I was interviewing, like, I'm connected. I get emails from Chaosium, and so I've been able to interview a bunch of their creatives over there.
Uh-huh.
And so I was already doing interviews, and so I was like, what if I make this a thing, but I just do it like for the AP space?
Right.
And I was toying with it and everything like that. And then I was talking with the playmat, who's a creator in the AP space. And I was like, I don't know if I should do this. Like, this is a project that I really want to do, but I don't know if I have time to do.
Hmm.
And he's like, what is it? I'm like, well, and I explained, what After the Table it would be. And he's like, you sound really passionate about it. Why don't you do it?
Yeah.
I'm like, uh, I don't know. I don't know if I have time. He's like, are you willing to make time? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what could you get rid of in this long list of things that you want to do and replace it with that? I was like, there's a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
It was mostly like I was writing, like I've been wanting to write like D&T supplements and things like that, and like like a book of whatever, and like my whole agnostic world that I've been wanting to work on for the past few years.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, what could you push aside? And I was like, push this aside and just work on this. And he's like, yeah. And it sounds like you're more passionate about it. I'm like, how dare you call me out?
Put that mirror
Yeah.
down.
I kind of like pushed it out to people, and I just basically started like cold emailing and dropping into people's DMs and everything like that. Like, hey, I'm launching this podcast. I would love to do this. And the first official episode was with Rumble Roll and their Bituine Queen series that they have.
Okay.
And it's a really great all Filipino, well, mostly Filipino cast, about set in this like kind of post-colonial Philippines that has like D&D and Kids on Brooms aspects on it.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was a really great interview, and it's snowballed from there. We have 21 full episodes, and I'm going to be recording the third bonus episode, which is going to be the last public bonus episode, because in season 2, which is launching in August,
Okay.
all our bonus episodes are going to patron only.
Oh,
because
okay.
I just feel like they're still going to be a thing,
Right.
and they're mostly just like they're going to be a little bit different format.
Mm-hmm.
And just we'll figure it out from there. But yeah, they're going to be patron only, and then we're adding another aspect to the interviews. I say we. It's just me. Hi, I'm the producer, the host, the editor. I'm everything. We're adding an additional segment for patrons, for the patron area, because I have Patreon and so I call them like my lovely little patrons. And yeah, it's a thing called table sets, which is like a this or that type of situation.
Okay.
So it's really cool. I'm really excited. I just put out the calendar of like the promo leading up to season 2 today, which you can find on all my social medias. So I'm really excited. At Shelly Von Miller everywhere. Everywhere on the internet, at Shelly Von Miller. But yeah, I'm really excited about it, because season 2 is gonna be great. I always take stock, and it's one of those things like at the end of a project or something like that, I always take like a look back of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like the former military in me of just doing an AAR. That's an after action review for those who don't know. And just like what worked, what didn't work, sort of like a Stars and Wishes, just a follow up. And what could be better, what can I do, what works a little bit better.
You guys call them after action reviews? I think they're called after action reports for us.
Yeah, it's a review for us because it's all in person. Like we all just gather around a table and we're like, all right,
Got it.
what got fucked up on? They're like, what fucked up? Yeah, because if you're just like, mind you, like they get, written down and everything like that. But before they're written down, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
what could
All right,
work better?
all right, you idiots, get in here.
Yeah. All right, everybody gather around the table. What fucked up? And it's always communication,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
If you think there's something wrong at your table, it's usually communication.
That's an understatement. Let me ask you this then. What made you decide to split it into seasons instead of just doing like a continuous episodic adventure?
Because I wanted to leave space for Jesus. No, I just wanted to have like a stopping point where like there is sort of like not a theme, but like first season, I started it with a table that I was at, and I ended it with a table that I'm at. And so like that's kind of like the bookend.
Yeah.
And so it's one I just wanted to bookend everything, and then I wanted to take like a little bit of a break and prep everything and like kind of just review everything, review the numbers, review, whatever, and start from there, and then work on the promo and all the marketing and things like that.
Okay.
And kind of like with season 2 start like not necessarily fresh, but like now that people know what the podcast is, kind of start like, hey, like this is season 2,
a little
bit of tweaking, a little bit of refining, like adding more things that are a little bit better, trying to get whatever, I don't know. My plan so I'm actually already recorded episode 1. I've already booked out 4 episodes already. That's the fun part, is 4 episodes already booked, 3 episodes already recorded. I have like 2 or 3 people, or 2 or 3 tables. Hopefully we can get them booked. One of them is going to be in person.
Nice.
And the first episode is with somebody that I'm on panels with at Gen Con.
Nice.
And then I'm hoping, it all depends on if PAX Unplugged wants to approve this panel, but I'm hoping to end the season at a live recording of After the Table at PAX Unplugged, which would be as a panel,
Nice.
like, so kind of just like bookending. I'm trying to bookend with things that are kind of like similar topics, similar themes, as a way, like panel, table I'm at, things like that.
That's awesome.
So,
I love that idea. So what is your vision for this panel at the end of the year?
it won't be necessarily like all the same table. I want to get a bunch of different people in the AP space who might know each other, who might not, and talk about, the AP sphere, just similar questions that I already have, but have it like as a round table. And then hopefully have, like question and answer, like live question and answer and things like that. It'd be really fun. I already put the feelers out and people are really like, oh, I'm like, okay.
Let mama know.
Hello. I will let you know. So yeah, that's the plan.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
It all depends on if it gets approved.
Right. Yeah.
So.
If I remember PAX last year, not great. If I'm remembering PAX last year, I could be messing up with Gen Con though.
Probably Gen Con.
Yeah, Gen Con's pretty fucked up.
PAX Unplugged was fun. I went to a bunch of different panels. That was my first Unplugged, and like there were panels about like content creation and things like
Yeah.
that, and like AP like actual like live play stuff that I went to. So
Okay.
it was a good time.
So let's talk about what's going on right now before we kind of finish up and get ready to talk about some other things. You're Crit Award nominated best player. Tell us that. What is that all about? Like what?
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, I was hoping to, I mean, mind you, whenever the time frame is for the Crit Awards, the podcast had already been like, was only like 2 months old and was like, you know, barely off the thing. So I was hoping to get nominated for like the podcast, and like I was really pushing for people to like nominate other people at my vampire table, like, hey, like nominate these people. For some reason they nominated me for best player in a Paradox Interactive / World of Darkness game. I again was shocked. I'm thank you. But yeah, I love my character. Her name is Ashley Dame. Actually, hold on. This is how obsessed I am of her. Like, this is how, you know, I get obsessed with characters. I get art made of them.
I love it.
So
Shout
this
out
is
the artist.
made by this is made by the wonderful Stephanie Brown, aka Offbeat Worlds.
Nice.
I love their art, and I've been wanting to get it for a while, so I saved up some money. I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna do this. And so yeah, this is my I had they shipped 2 copies of it, so I have one framed on my wall. It's just
I love it.
another one. But yeah, Ashley Dame is a Ventru. We're in a Chicago-based game, so
Okay.
she is. She's a native Chicagoan. She's old money rich. Like her family has been there for a while. They were like in like pelts and lumber and things like that.
Okay.
And I've been telling her story for like 2 seasons now, and yeah, she ended up being at the end of season 1. She ended up getting, you know, made the Ventru Primogen of Chicago.
Okay.
I was just like, wait, what? No, I don't want that. That means I have to be an NPC a lot faster. No.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a rich girl, but she has a very dark backstory of like she was made to torture people in like the 60s and 70s. Like she's been a vampire since the mid 40s.
Okay.
Like the mid 1940s, and yeah, she's a lot. She's a lot.
I want to play Vampire the Masquerade.
I
so
love
bad.
her. I love her. She is one of my favorite characters to have built, because I've been able to kind of just like, all right, let's figure this along the way. I added in there eventually that like her mom is or was a mage, and so like she comes like a long line of mages, and so she was supposed to be a mage, but she got made into a vampire before she, you know, was realized. She realized her power, and yeah, that it goes into the theme of like lost potential that is very prevalent in our storytelling.
Okay.
For Endless Elegy, a lot of us are like in that like lost potential type of liminal space of like 2 of us were supposed to be mages and we got turned into vampires. One of us was supposed to be like a really renowned artist. Things happened, got turned into a vampire. Yeah, things, you know, just like lost potential is a big theme at our table. So, and we have a new player at the table. We'll eventually figure out all their backstory, and it's probably attached to lost potential.
And
Let's
turned
be
into
real.
a vampire.
And getting turned into a vampire. So it's just one of those things like I love the storytelling that we've been able to tell at the
Mhm.
table, and I've been able to tell it with some amazing players. Um, and yeah, it's been really great. I love it. So yeah.
Um, d- what is your hope for what the? Because so New Age Geeks was nominated previously for Best Epic from YouTube channel. And I want to ask you, as someone a fellow nominee, what is your hope for the future of the Crit Awards? Like, do you see this becoming more than just a popularity contest? What are your kind of hopes and dreams for what it might become, or where are you at with what the Crit Awards is?
I think here's the thing, like it's obviously not a popularity contest because I was nominated and I don't know how that happened. Because I am not well known in the AP space. I'm known enough. That's it. That I'm
Okay.
known enough.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna
sure.
sure. I'm gonna just
Uh,
accept that and move on.
um, but I think whenever you have a public facing like voting system, like for instance, let's take the American, you know, political system. There's always going it's always going to be looked at as a popularity contest
Uh-huh.
because you are leveraging the public to vote for you.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing. So you are constantly like putting on social media, hey, like you're campaigning for people to vote.
Right.
So it's one of those things like you will eventually it's always going to be a popularity contest in the sense that it's always going to be with the public.
Right.
Because that's how it's built. Um, until such time that the Crit Awards changes its voting structure, like it's always going to be seen as a popularity contest.
Mm-hmm.
So
What are your hopes for what the Crit Awards may be or can accomplish? And again, you could just tell me to fuck
um
off. This is not necessarily your purview,
oh
so
no, it's fine. Yeah, it's not in my purview because I have no what they're going to do behind the
right.
scenes and
Right.
what the future that they probably have a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
I'm not privy to it because I'm not part of their board of directors. But that's like that's so like such a PC way to say that. Like, but one of the things I'm hoping is like they have like an in-person event at like a con again. That
Yeah.
would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I understand why they're not going back to Gen Con. It was explained several times why they're not going back to. Um, but I'm hoping that they have the ability to take it to like another con
Yeah.
in general, whether that's switching the time that they have campaigning and like votes and everything like that, and like they do it like at PAX Unplugged or PAX West or
Right.
like at a whatever, I don't
Right.
know. That would be great. That's also a taxing thing to put on a board of 4 people, 5
Yeah.
people who have their own fucking
Yeah.
lives and
Essentially
like this
volunteers,
is
from what we understand.
yeah, they're volunteers, they're not getting paid, things like that. So um I would also love to see uh I don't know, like uh this is totally just in my thought, a way for in the campaign period of like leading up, like yeah, they repost things and they repost, whatever. But I would love to see like I don't know, maybe like it would be really fun for like the best players or like the best GMs in the space or whatever to like have like a one shot
That could be fun.
together. That would be really fun. Like
Yeah.
you get to know why they're best players outside of like just the game that they play and like the
Yeah.
clips that they put out. Like you can see like a live version of it. Again, that's a lot of pressure to put on
Right.
volunteers to produce this, to get this together, and whatever amount of time, because they're also counting votes at the end of this, and
Right.
it can be a lot.
You don't say.
Yeah, I don't know, that it's one of those things. Like I would love to see something like this, or if people want to do like a populous public submitted thing, like outside of the Crit Awards, where like there is like a judging sort of similar to like a festival type of situation, in the AP space, that'd be kind of cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I know that it will take a lot of time and effort. I don't want to do it. I've judged for a festival at one point, for like their AP stuff. It was great. It took a lot of time though, and I know the effort that it takes for people to put that stuff together, because you have to condense everything down into like a 10-minute clip of what you are trying to convey with your game.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, then we're gonna move on to kind of the last little thing I want to talk to you about. You are well known as a drag and burlesque performer. It's all
Okay.
over your social media.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. How did we get into this? What is this? What does it mean for you? Tell me about it, because I'm interested. I want to know.
So I've always been interested in drag, and like pinup culture and things like that for a while now. I had a good friend. I still have it. She's still there. She's still a friend. But I had a good friend who used to do drag in the Austin, Texas drag scene back in like the early 2010s. We were roommates. We like, I went to their shows. We went to drag shows in Austin all the time whenever I was stationed. Formerly at Fort Hood, but at Fort Caveo. Now it's called Fort Caveo. So it's one of those things, like I've loved drag because, like, I mean, if I loved like Tu Wong Fu and The Birdcage and Priscilla Queen of the Desert, the 1990s, the 1990s Romeo and Juliet drag. It's all that is drag. Baz Luhrmann drag. Anything Baz Luhrmann does is just basically like a very Hollywood theater version of drag. And I started watching Drag Race a little bit, and then in 2018 I started grad school. I was in university for a very long time after I got out of the military in 2019. And I was like, I'm going to go to grad school. I'm going to get my PhD in history. I'm going to become doctor, whatever. Insert my actual name here.
Dr. Shelly Von Miller.
Dr. Shelly Von Miller. That is my actual and I was blogging at the time, so I was still making content and things like that. But I noticed that if I was writing too much, like in school, that I was dropping off my blogging because I was just not interested in writing anymore.
Right.
So I needed to find like another outlet to do this. And I was like, well, I would love to do drag, but I've never seen a woman do drag.
Okay.
I've never seen like a femme AFAB person do drag. And then I went to an all AFAB femme brunch in Fort Worth. And I was like, oh, so femmes can do drag. Sweet. And so that same bar was starting a competition, like their season of competition. And so I signed up, and I started doing drag that way. A couple months later, and my friend, who is, their stage name was Judy Von Miller. Whenever I was starting to get into drag, I messaged them and I said, hey, I know you don't do drag anymore, but I would love to take your drag last name, the family last name, Von Miller. And I know there's no Austin people who are Von Millers anymore. I would love to like continue the thing. And she's
Mhm.
like, do it, go. And so Shelly is a nickname that I had growing up, which is a combination of like two of my names. I was like, well, if I have a name, I need something that I will actually like pay attention
Right.
to. And so like, people are gonna say a name, I'm gonna not be paying attention to that. So Shelly Von Miller is what I created, and she's a little bit of class because the Von Miller just sounds really, classy and
Yeah.
things like that. She's a lot of trash. And then like I was constantly just like showing my ass on stage,
Mhm.
not necessarily in burlesque. And so I started doing burlesque stuff with that. And so like it's a whole thing of like, I was able to do club gigs, and I was traveling for conferences, so I was booking myself out for drag shows, academic conferences, mind you. These are like
Okay.
I'm like academic. I'm like bald headed, no brows, or like very short hair, no brows. Going to these conferences, going to like Columbus, Ohio, and getting booked for gigs there, or going to like Victoria, Canada, and doing an academic conference there, and booking myself out. I went to a student veterans conference in LA, did drag while I was out there. And so yeah, that was all happening, and then COVID hit, and I was just like, well, if I know anything about content creation, because I had moved all my stuff over to Shelly Von Miller, I
Uh-huh.
was like, I'll just make my Twitch my drag name,
Mhm.
so you can find me everywhere,
Yeah.
So I do drag on stream sometimes, and I do drag shows on stream sometimes. Like I make incentive for like subathons or like charity events we're doing, and yeah, it's doing digital drag is a lot different than doing club drag,
Right.
because how I paint on camera is totally different how I paint on stage, and I've learned that along the way. And I've been able to sort of incorporate drag or like drag aspects into my AP stuff. Whether that's like, I always say, like, whenever I do TTRPG related stuff, your favorite drag queen GM, Shelly Von Miller. And yeah, now I can't do burlesque on Twitch, unfortunately. That's the thing. You can't show titty on screen. Sorry. But how I got affiliate on Twitch is actually a variety show, basically a drag, burlesque, whatever, circus act show that I put on during like the height of COVID.
Mhm.
And people loved it. It was called Queermo Night, so it was all emo themed show. And
Love it.
everybody's like, why was it called Queermo? And I was like, well, because emo night is kind of like already trademarked. There's
Right.
emo nights happening all over the United States. But one of the things that people in the early 2000s would call emo kids were Queermo. Like there was a lot of like gay bashing and things like that in the early 2000s with emo kids, and I was an emo kid, so I got called queer a lot. I was also just in denial of my queerness
Little did they know.
for a very long time. And then I joined the military during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So like it was like, I'm not gay, I like men. I'm not, how dare you? And I'm over here like making out with women in bars.
Yeah.
There were signs, people. There were signs. So yeah, it's just been like that, and I've had the opportunity to go to conferences and be in drag, and people just love it. Last year in 2024, I got the opportunity to be on a very big stage at TwitchCon San Diego and be in the
Nice.
drag showcase,
Nice.
which they just dropped the TwitchCon 2025 San Diego promo for the tickets. And I'm the first face you see on that promo. Like, there's a Twitter thing on there, and then it's like my face, like doing drag, and I was like,
wow, that's gotta be
somebody
insane.
messaged me that. Somebody messaged me that. They're like, "How does it feel?" Like, what?
Yeah.
And I went and clicked on the link that they sent me, and I was like,
Yeah, that's gotta be a crazy feeling.
"Stop!" I messaged Twitch on Instagram. Mind you, they're not following me. I was like, "Stop! It's like you're in love with me. Stop it!"
You silly
Just,
bitches.
you know, this is silly. I love it. I love. It's been my way to kind of express, because again, whenever I went into drag, I was like, "Oh, I'm ace, but I'm straight." And through the drag scene, through being more in part of the queer community, I've been able to realize, yes, I'm queer. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of, who I am, and what my body is. Because after because the military beat the fuck out of me, my body has changed, and I'm not that 20-something-year-old who can lift weights anymore.
Right.
I am not like I here's the thing. I'll give it to you straight. The military gives you an eating disorder, whether they like to say it or not, because they make you fit into a certain weight range, and like if you don't, you better get the weight off fast. So you're constantly like doing whatever it takes to make weight.
Yeah.
And like working out 5 days a week, or 7 days a week, depending on like if you're deployed or not. And so it's just one of those things. Like at one point in my life, I was training for a half marathon. At one point in my life, I was doing, God, what is it called? The thing that's really bad for you, but it's like sort of Olympic weightlifting.
Clean snatches. I don't know.
I'm trying to. No, it's the exercise thing that everybody was like
HIIT?
obsessed with. CrossFit.
Yeah,
There we go.
Fucking losers.
I was doing CrossFit. I was constantly in the gym. I was measuring myself. I was, it gives you an eating disorder. And so after the military, it's one of those things. It's like I've had to, like, basically recover from an eating disorder in a different way.
Right.
I've had to undergo like basically deprogramming via like I've had internalized misogyny and homophobia, and there like internalized racism in there. Like I'm white, but like they teach you some really fucked up shit in the military of like, this is the mission, these are the people, and this is what they look like. And like I joined during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, so like I'm not gay, I'm not queer. Yeah, I think women are pretty, like, but that's every woman thinks women are pretty.
Right.
And just going from there and having to just do that and being part of the drag scene, the queer community has really helped with that like deprogramming and realizing that people are people, and being a bigot is not fucking cool. Guess what? You age like milk if you're a bigot.
Right.
So
that's why we look so good.
Yep. But also it's helped me, despite working in the club scene, it's helped me with not drinking as much, and also helped me with my mental health. Like I still drink occasionally, but I'm a recovering like binge drinker. And so it's one of those things, like I was constantly partying. Even whenever I got out, I was constantly partying and like drinking a lot. And Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not great.
No.
It's not fun.
No.
So yeah,
Honestly, there's a
it's
lot more we can go into with this, but we are getting ready to wrap up here, so I'm gonna kind of
no, it's
switch
fine.
tones here. Definitely think there's another interview that we could have at some point to kind of have those discussions. Maybe get a couple of us on there and have that kind of that talk. But I do want to know, is there any dream projects or collaborations you kind of hope to pursue in the future?
Gosh, dream project is finishing. I say finishing, but at least getting the framework down for 2 TTRPG related projects that I'm working on, that I've put on to the side because of the podcast. One of them being a fantasy-ish adjacent agnostic world, where you can play it in like whatever system you want to. And it all stemmed from like a one pager that I made that everybody's like, I would want more lore with this. And so I'm working on that slowly but surely. That's been like a project for like 3 years. And then the other is a kind of a um a love letter to my city. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and so I've been wanting to make a VTM uh, book
Okay.
that is Houston based. So World of Darkness book that's based in Houston. So like they have a Chicago by night. I've been wanting to make like a Bayou City
Yeah.
type of because that's what Texas is called. Or Houston is called is the Bayou City. So I've been wanting to make like
The
a
Bayou City?
VTM the Bayou City. Yeah, so Houston is built on swamps.
Okay. Bayou is not Houston's definitely not the first thing I think of when I hear Bayou. I've never been to Houston, so this is a New Yorker
Yeah,
saying
so
that.
Houston is not that far from the coast.
Okay.
It's built on an inlet and like a swampland. So there's tons of swamps. That's why we're constantly flooding whenever we have like heavy rain or
Yeah.
hurricane. We are built on a valley or like a big swarm of swamps, bayous. So, yeah.
It's an upscale bayou,
So,
according to Balmung.
sure, okay.
I think he's comparing it to New Orleans.
Oh yeah, I mean, like a lot of people from New Orleans, Louisiana, came to Houston after Katrina and Rita. And there's a lot of people who move here who are like, who are from other parts of the Gulf Coast or like other parts of the country that are like, oh, it's just hot, it's a little muggy. And then they have like their first rain or their first hurricane here, and they're like, I didn't know you could get hit by hurricanes here. I was like, honey, what do you think is where do you think the Houston Ship Channel is off of? The Gulf of Mexico, darling. Hi, we're still part of the Gulf of Mexico. So yeah, so I grew up in Houston, and so I've been wanting to make like a VTM module that's Houston based, and so
that sounds fun.
Really fun.
Okay. Can you share?
And then like other AP stuff, I would love just book me. Hi, just book me.
I mean, I've got plenty of things. I'm sure I can find something. Has there been a pivotal moment or turning point in your career that's kind of shaped the way you approach content creation?
It's definitely been Twitch. Twitch has been whenever I started doing Twitch, because it's a little bit different how you approach like blogging or like doing, other things, YouTube. Because I did YouTube for a long time, like beauty. I did beauty influencing for a while. Hence why I could do makeup before I got into drag. They were like, how is your makeup so good? I'm like, because I used to do beauty YouTube. Hello. Hi. But yeah, it's a different way because there is that like instant audience attachment.
Mm-hmm.
There is that, like, you have to be entertaining, whether you would like to or not. There is like an entertainment aspect to it. So anytime, that's why I approach it with like a lot of the lessons I've learned through drag and burlesque. There is a lot of like, hey, like, this is how I'm going to like entertain you and like bring you in and want you to be part of the story. There is a story I like telling on streams.
Okay. All right then. We are gonna ask our last question here.
Oh
Um,
no,
stretch it out. Get ready.
stretch it out. Ugh,
Oh.
a bend and snap.
All right.
Sorry, that's an army callback.
Shelly Von Miller, what message or
Yes.
impact do you hope to leave through your content on the geek space?
I'm hoping that uh, I'm able to show that geeks come in all sorts of different size and shapes and whatever background you come from. Um, Especially, I want to make sure, and this is like something that I've done since getting out of the military, is like bridging this gap between the veteran and like non-veteran space, and especially in the geek space of kind of just trying to like build that as the bridge to kind of work in those two spaces together, and hopefully uh people understand why veterans, that the especially newer veterans, are the way they are. No matter like the thing I do, I always have to know, like, I always have to, like, in the back of my mind, understand that I am different, and this is the way that I'm different, and this is the way that I'm going to make sure that people understand me, whether it's, you know, as a queer person, as a veteran, as a geek, as a nerd, whatever, as an entertainer, as a content creator. It's one of those things, like, I'm constantly trying to like build bridges and kind of weave it in, you know, weave all my aspects together. That way people understand the full potential of me. And hopefully by building those bridges for other veterans and kind of trying to, you know, weave the non-veteran sector of the geek world and together, uh, other people understand like there is a different way to look at people you don't understand that have like this very interesting background. Yep.
I love it. Okay. That is going to bring us to the end of our interview. So we're going to open up the chat to viewer questions. We've kind of run a little long in the tooth, so we're only going to have a few minutes here. But if you have any questions for Shelly, go ahead and I'm sorry, let me get that right. If you have any questions for Shelly Von Miller, go ahead and put those in the chat. While we wait for those
I always
questions,
love when people say my full name because it's like Shelly Von Miller. I'm like,
yes,
okay.
that is the way
Okay.
I like to refer to you, as Shelly Von Miller.
Shelly Von Miller.
Yes, my lady. While we wait for those questions to come in, Shelly Von Miller, if you can go ahead and roll me a d20, we're going to switch over to our dicey question segment. These 20 random questions
All
determined by
right.
d20 roll.
This is my chunky D20 brought to you by. You should totally get dice from
You
them.
literally cut out the second you said the person's name. What?
Of course, of course. This is a die. This is a chunky die made by Hindsight Dice.
Nice.
So there you go. There you go. They've been able to provide some dice sets and everything for some charity one shots that I've done in the past.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
I absolutely adore them.
Shout out.
Hell yeah. 14.
14. Okay. Do you prefer games on a PC or a console?
Oh, that's hard. I started my Twitch journey and like my gaming journey on a console.
Hmm.
I do like I played like you know, Oregon Trail and things like that growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like console, but I like PC more.
Why? What about PC do you feel like?
There's just more options, and
Yeah.
also I don't have to worry, especially because I have a Switch. I don't have to worry about like storage. I mean, I still have to worry about storage, but like the storage does not run out.
Right. Okay, give me another D20 roll. If you have any
All right,
questions for Shelly Von Miller, go ahead and make sure you put them in the chat right now.
hell yeah. 19. Ooh, we're doing some good rolls with this guy.
This is a great question. Something you've created that you're really proud of. This can be a homebrew item. This could be something outside of the D&D space. It can be anything you want. Something that you've created that you're really proud of.
I've been able to do some homebrew stuff for like as incentives for Fisher House Foundation, which is a 501c3 that I'm part of. I've been able to work with them through the Groundbreaker stream team, and some of the incentives have been like create homebrew items, and I've been making them that are like Fisher House themed or like one shot themed, like in conjunction to the one shots, like their characters and stuff like that. So I attempted my first subclass homebrew because of that, and it was very interesting. It's been a learning experience on the home brewing front. So
so the class is the class thing you're most proud of?
Yeah, because I was just like, okay, how am I this? Like, it took a little bit to like learn and like kind of look through other stuff to make sure that it works. I haven't tested it yet because as a DM, as a constant DM in D&D, I haven't had the chance to play as a player. So I think like, hey, if you want me for your D&D campaign, I'm gonna become a artificer with the subclass of the architect. So it's a really cool subclass. I'm hoping if anybody is okay with homebrewing. So
all right.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to put like a couple of homebrew stuff together and sell it, so all the money goes to Fisher House Foundation.
Oh, nice. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got time for one more D20 roll. If there's no questions, that's where we'll call it then.
Yeah, it's okay, chat. I'm weird.
Nah, it just means we answered all the questions they have.
It's true. 12. Again, good rolls this D20.
I love it. If you had a spiritual weapon, what would it be?
Oh. It'd probably be like a wig head with like a really big wig on it.
Okay. I mean, I know why, but why?
Because of drag. Yeah. I think it would be like everybody's like, oh, it'd be makeup. No. It'd be a wig with like a wig head, with a wig on it. Just because like there's like that like cartoonish aspect to it. Yeah. And that's a really funny. The fact that you chose that this has got chosen because my first character was a cleric, right? Yeah. And so it's just like it's kind of like an homage to her.
Bringing it all back. Okay. I think that's gonna call it for the end for tonight. Thank you so much, Shelly Von Miller, for this interview. This has been amazing. You're an amazing creator. Good luck on the Crit Awards. If you want to vote for Shelly Von Miller, you can go to critawards.org. I think it is to vote.
Yes, critawards.org.
Check out their Instagram. It's all their information's on there. That being said, Shelly Von Miller, go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you, what you're doing next.
You can find me. Hi, I'm Shelly Von Miller, your favorite drag queen turned GM, Draglass performer, variety content creator, and overall internet dumbass. You can find me everywhere on the internet, to include here on Twitch, at Shelly Von Miller. Next thing I'm doing is, I don't know. I'm just playing games on Twitch. I'm currently going through Date Everything, so where you can date you can date your house. So yeah, I'm also trying to work through Mass Effect. You could find my playthrough of a bunch of stuff, to include my Mass Effect playthrough, on YouTube. Again, Shelly Von Miller there. Season 2 of After the Table, that was announced earlier. Season 2 is premiering August 4th, everywhere you get your podcasts, to include visually on Spotify and YouTube. You can get early access to the episodes, as well as patron exclusive stuff on my Patreon. Again, Shelly Von Miller there, Patreon, and Fourth Wall. Fourth Wall is a little bit different. It's shelly.shop.fourthwall.com.
Okay.
And then you can find memberships on there.
Links are in your Instagram. On your Instagram.
Links are in, you can find them on my Beacons, which is on my Instagram, beacons.ai/Shelly Von Miller. Again, branding, people. If you want people to find you.
It's important.
Important. It's very important.
Okay.
Besides that, yeah, I'm streaming. Next place you can find me if you want to see me in person is at Gen Con. I have a panel that I'm part of. So there you go. To include, I'm going to be a NPC on a live play. And then after that, I'll be at PAX West, and then TwitchCon, and then PAX Live.
Okay.
And then there's something else happening in September, but it hasn't been announced yet. So whenever that happens, it will be on my socials.
You should probably be following Shelly Von Miller on Instagram and all other socials, so you know you can stay up to date with Shelly Von Miller's going-ons.
Yeah.
That being said, we will New Age Geeks will be back on Monday with another episode of Investigation Check, our sober D&D campaign set the critical role world of Exandria. Besides that, check our socials. There's other things going on, but I can't announce them because I don't know what they are. So I got nothing else. If you got nothing else, remember, we love you, geeks. Good night.